Broadcast live from London. It's the Car-Boyz special, the 2021 British Motor Show. It is. Hello. Hello, fellow Car-Boyzers. Male, female, however you identify. We're all good. You can identify as he, she, her, him, zim, zam. Whether you are a Transformer or, in fact, Optimus Prime. I've always wanted to be a woman. Of course, you remember the cartoon. Yes, it's Car-Boyz. We're back, folks. We're back with a vengeance. The Car-Boyz return, but this time we are focusing on last Sunday's 2021 British Motor Show, which we attended last weekend, Farnborough Airfield, saying that it was actually the 2020 British Motor Show.
It was,
The last one got cancelled due to some sort of virus I've been hearing about. Nothing to do with bats, nothing to do with China, or any Institute of Virology in China. No, just a natural thing that happened, and it didn't really affect the whole world, and it didn't shut down the whole world at all. It was fine. Anyway, this isn't why you called. No, our Car-Boyz special this week is taking a look at the car show that's come to symbolise all things British. And by that, I mean probably all things global as well.
Absolutely, and it's got a long old history as Britain's first motor show for horseless carriages. Do you remember them?
Oh, I do. Yes, I was there.
Oh,
I used to wear a stovepipe hat when I was going to see Mr. Ames down on Baker Street. About a certain, I'd go, Mr. Ames. I was one of the Baker Street irregulars, you know. I'd go, Mr. Ames. Mr. Holmes, I'd say, there's a crime being committed. And I know. I said,
oh, blimey, Governor.
Oh, blimey, Governor. I sort of turned Birmingham then. I went, crime being committed. But no, there was a crime committed, Mr. Holmes. So, yes, I'm familiar with the horse-drawn carriage.
Well, if you remember that, you would have seen that it was held in South Kensington, no less, in 1896.
Wow.
At the Imperial Institute under the auspices of the Lawson Motor Car Club.
Oh,
that's
very nice.
a catchy name. The first British Motor Show was organised by the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, the SMMT, and was held at the Crystal Palace in London in 1903, the same year that the speed limit was raised from 14 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour.
And isn't that weird? Because just over 100 years later, they put the speed limit down to 20 miles an hour from 30 miles an hour. Yes, in 1905, it moved to Olympia in London. It was held there for 32 years. Then it went to Earl's Court, 37 to 76, except the period during the war when we couldn't really hold it because the Germans were dropping bombs on us. It was strange, yeah, because during the war years, Mercedes and BMW didn't feature very big there. Don't know why. From 78 until 2004, it was held every second year at the NEC up in Birmingham. 2006, 2008 it was cancelled. It was held at Excel. Then it got cancelled in 2010, 2012 because of the global financial crisis. And it's been held under the banner of the London Motor Show from 2016 to 2019. Now, this is really not very interesting, but it returned as the International Motor Show, supposedly in 2020, but actually in 2021, at Farnborough International. And this is the one we attended.
It is.
And I'm Richard Green.
And I'm Simon Sujuwan.
And this is...
Yes.
Car-Boyz, brought to you this week by Rob Water, from the people who brought you the destruction of the British economy. It's the taste of Crete. It's Rob Water, and as it's a Friday today, have a little taste.
What's it like?
It tastes like I won't be returning to work until Monday.
That's handy. Does it make you forget everything else that's going on around the world?
I've forgotten everything. There's nothing happening in a certain country right in between Western Asia and Eastern Asia, just sort of landlocked country between sort of Pakistan and Iraq and Iran. Nothing's happening there. Nothing's happening there at all.
Nothing going on.
And it's never it's never been happening there at all. So overall impressions of let's get back to what we're talking about. The Farnborough International British Motor Show held at Farnborough International Airport. Your overall impressions of the show, what did you think?
It was interesting. There was barely any lower end cars, what I would call lower end cars.
Yes.
So your average 4-box saloon or whatever it may be. Lots of supercars, lots of electric vehicles, but not really anything at the lower end.
You're totally right. I agree with that because I remember 96 96 Geneva Motor Show that I went to. I was only 3. They did have. I remember looking at Citroen had a whole stand, and they had their products. Plus, they had the new stuff that was coming out. The ZX was coming out. Fiat had relaunched the original Panda, but only in Europe. We sat in one of those. Also, because I was British. Did you
have a bowler hat with you?
I had a bowler hat. I'd left my stovepipe hats at home. I wasn't working for Mr. Holmes anymore. God bless you. I wore my bowler hat, and I had my my umbrella with the bamboo handle, and
just like Steed.
Just like Steed. Oh no, hang on, I got the music wrong. that was what was that? That was
a prisoner.
That was a prisoner. Anyway, same sort of thing. I was wandering around like Steed, poking my umbrella and things. But because I was British, all the British manufacturers were like, we've not met anybody that isn't a journalist. I wasn't over there as a journalist. I was a holidaymaker, and they said, do you want to come and sit in a Jag? I was like, yeah, cool. So I sat in a Jag.
Fantastic.
And I sat in a Jag with about that thick skin or lamb's wool carpets. Oh, very nice. I was like, you'd have to drive barefoot to be in this. I remember sitting in a Bentley, and I sat in the Audi TT when it was still a concept. It was very cool. It was very, very cool.
Because the last motor show I went to, I think, was up at the NEC.
Okay.
And I wasn't allowed to visit any of the Astons or the Jaguars or Ferraris unless I could prove I could buy one.
Which, so you need a man of your means.
Yeah. Would have to take my bank statement. In those days, checkbook. I'd had a machine that put a card in and used to go.
He's fine. Let him in. Yes, I do remember. I've got a story about that. I'll tell you about that later on. It was a journey to Scotland I took in the early 90s, but it will be off air because I don't think we have a statute of limitations in this country. I thought there was definitely lack of product. For me, because I'm a bit of a geek about older cars, there was a lot of classic cars, which personally I loved. Yes. Not many new ones, a big emphasis on electric. I mean, we in fact got talking to a guy that was there to promote the electric car generally, not specifically for any brand, and he couldn't really answer the questions that we kept posing to him, such as, okay, it's a great electric car, where are we getting the electric from? Don't worry, we've got enough electric with wind power, and I to quote him directly, and don't worry, if we do run out of electric, we'll just switch on a coal-fired power station. And I went, doesn't that defeat the point of an electric car? So you've got all the effort and all the energy of making an electric car, but you're burning coal to run the electric car. And once if you run out of coal, because there's no coal mines here, so then you've got to put the coal on a container ship, and bring it over here.
Yeah.
I guess it's coming out of Poland because it's not coming out of the Rhineland anymore, or is it coming out of China? I don't know where coal comes from. And the container ship does how many feet to the gallon? 3 feet?
3, unless it gets stuck in the Nile.
3 or 4, unless it's sideways in the Nile. Ahmed, keep pushing it. That is mine. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see. I covered that story for a news agency actually.
Oh, okay.
And it was quite an amusing story. And everybody was like, "Can't you just tow it out?" And they were like, "Nope. Once it's wedged, it's wedged."
Yeah.
So yes. Let's open.
We do have a picture of Rich with an electric car. This is the electric Mustang.
There I am trying to work out where you pour the electricity into the car. And as we can see, Ford had a whole stand on this.
They did,
promoting electric cars. That's the Ford Mustang Mach-E. It hasn't got the actual. I think we got it wrong. I thought the motor was in the back. It's not. It's just behind. It's in front of the bulkhead. So where that, it's in front of, and it's got a frunk, which seemed a bit pointless to me because you could hardly get anything in it.
Probably a pair of shoes. That's about it. If you've got size
dimensions are about
shoes.
3 less of. Honestly, that by about that.
Yeah, you could probably fit some fizzy pop in there as well.
Yeah, I didn't really see the point. I mean, it actually make more bloody sense to put a run flat tire in there. Make the room to put the run flat tire and not have a can of gunk that every auto manufacturer seems to think is a good idea, which I think is the craziest thing in the world. Because I don't know if you've ever done it. I've shoved gunk into a tire to get me to the tire place when I've had a complete flat. and they've just had to cut the tire off with a knife. I go, well,
Yeah.
I've got no choice. I'm 2 mile away from where my tire guy is. They go, yeah, you've ruined that. I said, I know, but how can if I'm trying to fill it full of air and the air is coming straight out, there's nothing I can do. I thought it looked quite bulky. I didn't think it looked very sexy. The build quality was good. The interior was good. And I will say, yeah, I mean, the steering wheel felt nice. What it didn't feel like is £58,000.
Oh, it was. I think we do have some clips of that up on the YouTube.
If you go to
channel.
YouTube, if you go to the YouTube channel and also Facebook, I've whacked loads of clips of us checking out the electric Ford. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because getting back to the guy that was talking about electric cars, I later that day was fanning around on YouTube and found a guy, a Tesla owner, saying, oh crap, if I'm going away tomorrow to Vegas, I forgot to charge the Tesla. So he opens up the Tesla and he's got 31%. He said, it's not going to take me to Vegas from where he was in California. Okay, got to put it on charge. 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours to wait.
But no, I don't. It completely defeats the point of an automobile. I mean, I went to Cornwall a couple of weeks ago. I got petrol before I went. I've got capacity in the car to go to Cornwall and drive back. It's 420 miles my car will do on a full tank. But even if I haven't got the petrol. There's a garage there, and 5 minutes later we're back on the road. You have to plan so much, and how many of us? And I'll put my hand up. And with the first one, I forgot to charge my phone the other day, and I got into work. Oh, I'm running out of charge because I'm running around on the phone.
I get anxiety about stuff like that.
I must have so many
with a full charge.
I've got so many cables hidden and secreted in places around the UK that I've always got somewhere I can sort of plug in. And I was quite excited about my local train service in Southwest London now has an electric point. I was like, ooh, I'm going to steal your electric.
I was talking to a colleague today, and actually yesterday. It's very mellow yellow. You'll know who he is.
Oh yes. He always says, "Quite right."
That's right. He said it's interesting because in this country, we're all going for let's go for electric vehicles and whatever. He spends a lot of time in Spain, and he said no one really cares for it. He said, how are you going to drive an electric vehicle up a mountain? There's lots of steep roads, and if it hasn't got that ability to go use that power up the hill, how's it going to work?
You are reminding me of a time I rented a Jimny. I think it was a Suzuki Jimny, soft top
color
one.
Of bile.
I think it was. It was a soft top one, and this thing was struggling to get up the mountains of Greece, and I was coming up and down, and my other half, who is far cleverer person than I, went, should we turn the aircon off? Which obviously is electric. We turned the aircon off, and we've got the power again to get up the mountains. Are you going to go through electric like a dose of salts? Probably.
So how does that work? It said they've not thought about this.
No.
So
and look at America, for goodness sake. America, the land of the brave and the home of the free, and the land of great distances, huge distances between point A and point B. And in England, we are a tiny country, the UK, I should say. We do not get the concept of the fact that some people in America commute to work 150 miles. We think
state from state,
state to state for a day and then commute back. We go, well, you'd never do that in the UK. You can do it in America because you've got wide open roads. What we haven't got is the charging capacity on those roads. And I don't know whether I was in Wyoming, in the middle of nowhere, in my log cabin. I'd go, I'm just going to get a diesel truck, or I'm going to get a petrol car, because there isn't no infrastructure for me to charge this car. The guy, in fact, talking to us at the 2021 British Motor Show, which is what this show's all about today, was saying, the infrastructure's there. They're going to turn lampposts into charging points. Right. Okay, but it's going to cost more than charging at home. All right. Have you tried to get a parking space on the street in London recently?
Well, I was just going to say that. I've noticed, they changed all our lampposts around here in the last probably 3 years, and they've moved from being on the edge of the pavement to the other side of the pavement,
Excellent.
so the
wires
nearest to
will
where the house
trace
is.
across the pavement,
Yes.
tripping up people who are blind and partially sighted,
Yeah.
impeding the route, people in wheelchairs. This is sounding like a marvelous plan. None of this has been thought about. Talking about electric cars, let's move on to best and worst. One of the best for me, and the point of the electric car as it stands at the moment, let me get it up on the screen. Hang on a second.
Magic of technology.
Yes, look at this. Let's get this. Here we go. We're here. Let's see if we can go down to find the photo.
Is this your holiday photos?
My holiday photos. Hope there's nothing. No. I've managed to take out the saucy ones of the wife. I can't. I don't think. Have I got it on here? I'm not sure it's on here. The AMI. I don't know. There it is.
Yeah. You must
There
have.
it is.
Yeah.
Hang on. Let me just get this. Come on, chap. Now that says best car of the year. I didn't say that.
Are we seeing it? Where is it?
No, we can see it on the screen. The Citroen AMI. We can see it on the screen. You can't. I don't think you can see it.
I can't see it.
Can you not see it?
No, I can see all your images.
But you can't see.
I can see a little picture of us.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this is being shared on the screen. Simon's going to show you. Do you know what? Let's go with that as well. Simon's going to show that the Citroen AMI, which is a true electric car, can be driven, I think, by anybody over the age of 15. It was voted one of the best cars of the year. The body is all completely plastic. It is two-door. You can alter the passenger seat. So if you've got a lot of luggage, you can put luggage in there. They're being rented out. Some baguette and
wine.
5 cases of wine. You could get in the side of there, some gauloises, garlic, and the inability to wash yourself. Yes, you can get that in France, and you can hire it. You just hire that car, and to me, perfect city car. That if you lived in Paris and you had a car for the weekend, you go, do you know we need a second car? Get that, the Citroen AMI. Nothing like the original AMI, but perfect at doing the job of what electric car should do, which is for a very specific purpose of keeping the air in our inner cities clean. Yeah. It makes perfect sense. If you want to hire a car, you hire that. You lease it. You don't own it, or you rent it. And I think that's an absolute corker. I'm going to move on to the next one.
Did you double clip the images?
Did I double clip them? Why?
Yeah, because then that opens it up into
a second. Well, yeah, but I then have to do that and move it around a bit. Hang on, let me go to the next one. Let me unclick that. There we go.
I'm sure it works perfectly fine.
What I'm showing now is one of the best rear ends since Beyonce starred in her latest video. It's an Alpine or an Alpine.
Yes, a Renault.
Renault. Look at that.
Posh Renault.
Look at the beauty of that, and the rear end is fantastic, and that exhaust. This is James May from Top Gear. I think owns one of these.
He does, yes.
And
a blue one.
All the new cars I saw, this was the one I thought. Do you know? I think this was 60 grand, wasn't it? That's the one I'd have. I wouldn't spend 60 grand on anything else. I'd spend it on that.
There was a couple of things we said. One, we admired the paint finish, which was really, it was like a matte
finish.
Matte paint finish on that. The other thing was you turn up to somewhere in one of these and people go, oh, that's unusual. What's that?
Yeah.
And you would spending that 60 grand on this car would certainly turn a few heads.
Oh, definitely. And that's going to be a talking point. And I think in years to come, that will be a classic car. It's very much the shape of the Volvo P1800.
P1800, yeah.
Almost a shooting brake with that beautiful little boot. And really, if you need a boot any bigger or any different from that, then you shouldn't be buying this car. And a proper two-seater as well, not a stupid four-seater. Because in those sort of cars, what is the point of having two seats? Lots of room in 4 seats, lots of room in the back for nothing. A bit like your Mini.
Or a 2+2, but you're never quite sure what the +2 is.
That's true. That's true.
What? +2 what?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that was one of the cars I thought was absolutely fantastic. Now, you see, I'm quite a sad old man, and let me get it here. One of the most exciting cars for me, being that I am a dad, was the Subaru Outback. and it's quite sad that I like this. I'm just going to move us around so that
It was great. It was coming towards the end of the show, which closed,
yes,
I think, about 5 o'clock.
it did. They were kicking
And
us
we
out.
came across the Subaru stand, and Rich was just like, "This is so good."
Ooh, it's got roof rack. It's got a built-in roof rack. Lots of room.
There was a guy on there who was changing the number plates, I think. I
Yes.
don't know whether he was going to drive it
Yes.
off at the end of the day. But Richard was opening the boot, and then he was just like, he said, "Oh, you could do these with the seats and everything." And it was just it was good.
I was getting really
You were
excited about
nursing
this
one,
car.
weren't you?
Yeah, I was. Sad old man. It's got the tinted back windows. Apparently the one to go for is the Sport, not the top of the range, the Sport, which is the middle range, which hasn't got the leather seats. It's got the it's got sort of nice plastic around the wheel arches. I'm sure hides a myriad of rust issues.
Yeah.
Got a petrol engine. It's only a 2-litre. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but being it's not it's not a sports car to pick up young ladies. It's proper dad vehicle, and I was just going, and it's not too high because I'm not
soccer mums. Maybe you pick up soccer mums.
Yeah, the MILFs and the Cougars would love you in this. What I liked about it, it wasn't too high because I have driven a Hyundai Santa Fe,
SUV,
I think, for about 6 months, and it was all right. And it's got the sensors, so you can park it okay, but it's just a little bit too big. Of course, it's also 4x4, so if you're going off-roading, it's never going to go off-roading. It's going to do for goodness gracious, it's going to do the school run. So yeah, I was personally quite excited by that. And of course, the motor show, there weren't really many new cars, were there?
There wasn't really. There was one hall that did have new cars in there. It's not like the NEC. It's not going to be huge amounts of space. But there was a hall that did have some new cars. The interesting one for me, not necessarily my favourite, was the Rolls-Royce 4x4.
Yes.
Which we remarked looked like a London taxi.
It does. Going south of the river this time and look like Gov, you must be joking. No way, mate.
So
it does look like a taxi, though.
But a high-end car, and it was like, well, most people here probably aren't going to buy one of these.
A Rolls Royce is a Rolls Royce is a Rolls Royce. I mean, the only people I can think would want to buy that is probably people in the Middle East. It's like to get your giant family in it across a desert. It would sort of have a point. Whereas it's a Rolls Royce is a Rolls Royce. You buy a Rolls Royce to have an amazing luxury car, to either drive it or be more appropriately be chauffeured around in it, unless you buy the Corniche. So I didn't really pop it up again. Let's have another look at it, because I do think it's particularly ugly. And let's be honest, it's a Tiguan, isn't it? Is it a Tiguan?
I think it is a VW. Yeah.
It's a VW. I like the suicide doors. The suicide doors are quite cool. Wheels are too big. It's not really a proper off-roader.
Yes.
This, in 20 years' time, will be a bargain. It'll be scrap dealers.
Depreciate like no one's business.
Guy owns a building company called Dave. Will have one of those. Yeah, see my new roller. Yeah. It'll be like the Silver Shadow was in the 90s. The old 70s Silver Shadows were always owned by northern comedians. And
jingle jangle jingle jangle.
Yeah, former Top of the Pops presenters with dubious history of doing dubious things. Yeah, so we had COVID last year. We currently caught COVID. Car production shut down. Knock-on effect, of course, was the lack of computer chips. Production in China. So it's down across the board. Seat, Peugeot, Rolls-Royce, BMW, Hyundai, everybody producing fewer units. And of course, coupled to this, sales have been down across the board because we weren't driving anywhere and we didn't need a new car. What was big, as we've mentioned at the show, and I'll open that again, was electric cars. Yes. But not electric cars as you'd think of them. I'm sharing an image now, hopefully this of the engine bay of Electrogenic, which is a company which takes, you can see this sort of electric motor, and it is a standard electric motor, pops it into, and this was in the boot, or not the boot, the engine bay on a Porsche of an old school, I think.
So it's 356.
Porsche, this one's a Porsche C, so I don't know. Yeah, 356. Yeah.
Basically, what they do is you'll take a classic car.
Yeah.
You'll take a classic car, and what you do is rip out all the engines and all the bits and pieces in there, and you replace it with batteries and electric motors.
Yeah, I'm showing a. They're doing the same with the battery in the front. So if the engine's in the back in a Porsche, and the battery goes in the front. Carmen Ghia, they did it to a Carmen
Yes.
Ghia as well. Oh, I've gone onto a picture of a land crab. Nobody's ever going to do it to the Maxi 1800. But now this is the problem, and like Beyonce. It's a butt,
It's a
but
big butt.
it's a big butt, and J Lo as well. You see, I'm aging myself in the women I'm finding quite attractive. No
I
Ariana.
notice it changes as you get older. It slightly changes, doesn't it?
No Ariana Grande for me. I'm afraid that's a little bit too young. It's a little bit too creepy.
Bag of sweets, you know.
Yeah, it is. So do you remember the year 2000? I was 8. I was like, no, yeah, I wasn't. So the problem with all of this is very much fur coat and no knickers. And what I'm trying to say there in my roundabout way is technology in these things, let me get these things, moves on very swiftly. The phone technology moves on all electric development moves on very, 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 very quickly. So we are seeing the second-hand car market be flat as a pancake. Nobody wants a second-hand electric car. Nobody sees G-Wiz. There's no G-Wizes in London. The i3, BMW i3, the i3 is the cheap, is the Curb Your Enthusiasm car that he drives.
Yes.
Second-hand ones of those from 2013, 2010 can be, well, probably not 2020, 2013, 2014, can be had for $5 or $6 grand because the battery is getting crapper and crapper. And to put a new battery in, what are you going to need? $3 or $4 grand.
Well, that's the thing. We basically said if you're selling this car on, the second-hand purchaser is basically taking on the price of buying a new battery.
Yes.
Which, for example, a Tesla, I've known people to be quoted like £16,000 for it. So you kind of go, why would you spend 16 grand on just batteries when that could go towards a normal combustion engine vehicle?
You're starting to talk about big amounts of money with people that can afford to lose. I think the second-hand car market, is just completely zero for electric cars. Yeah. Plus, coupled to the fact, Tesla's business model does not want second-hand Teslas to exist.
Yeah,
there is a guy in America who cobbled together two crashed Teslas to make one good one. And the kickback he's had from the company, they wouldn't give him the codes, they wouldn't sell him the parts. He had to buy remanufactured parts, copied parts from China. He had to go into the he had to hack the computer in the Tesla to get it to work. Because when he went online, it said this Tesla doesn't exist because it was a write-off. It had crashed in water or something. Yeah. So how is this renewable? The only example of the renewability is the Renault Twizy, where you own the car but you lease the battery. So when the battery's gone, you just hand the battery back to
Renault, and they'll just replace it with
and they give you a new battery, and you start renting a battery. So your fuel source, the fuel source is electric, but your actual fuel cell is a rental. So the value of that car shouldn't, in theory, go down. But mark my words, I bet it will.
It's kind of like in the aviation industry, it's what's called power by the hour.
Okay.
And you buy the plane, but you don't buy the engines, which are the most expensive parts, one of the single parts on there. So you just rent the engines, and every time you just replace it with a new one, and just because you're renting it. We did see a Twizy there. I don't think we had a picture of a Twizy.
No pictures of a Twizy, yeah.
But because I think we were kind of looking at the Sinclair C5 at the time.
There was a picture of me in a Sinclair C5.
There was a Twizy which was trying to get a very large bloke in there. I think his mates.
Oh God, the wrestler, that wrestler dude. This guy.
I think his mates had egged him on to put him in that Twizy.
I'm just trying to find a Twizy. I'm coming up with Twix at the moment. Twizy car. The other thing. Go online and have a look at. Go online and have a look at, on YouTube in particular, about people that have Twizzies, and they don't half complain about how they're awful to drive in heavy traffic. That's a Twizy. It is a two-man, believe it or not. But
or two women in this times,
or two, to persons of any persuasion or description. But it is, and this guy's like, you can feel every lorry go past it. It's cold in the winter. Of course, the battery life doesn't last very well in the winter. I don't even think there's a heater in there. So
Wow.
in the winter, it's really cold, and he had to put his own heater in this thing. And I'm like, it's like trying to reinvent the wheel. And sitting there on the Citroen on the Sinclair C5, it really did feel. There's the Twizy, like it was not exactly a vehicle for the future. It felt it just didn't feel right. I wouldn't fancy driving a C5 anywhere in a rush.
That said, it was made out the same plastic that the Citroen Ami was.
Hmm.
It did feel
Plastic.
the same. Yeah.
Plastic. Yeah. I mean, the show. I think that the show was saved. This is if you've just halfway tuned in. It's not like this is live, but this is our 2021 roundup of the British Motor Show at Farnborough, and let me get our pictures up again. What saved it for me was the classic cars.
Yes.
Let me get this right. So there was the Maxi in baby poo brown, which looked absolutely disgusting with an AA badge on it, and maybe even an RAC badge on there. Let's get that.
So bad you had to sign up for
Maxi.
two breakdown agencies.
Yes, V-Reg. I told the story at the time how my father had a grey Maxi. That was my grandfather's, and because he had a growing family, the MGB GT that he had in the Old English white with the orange velour interior was no longer big enough, and so swapped it for my grandfather's four-door Maxi, and my dad hated the car. Wheels were about this thick. It spun out on ice. It was an ugly thing. I've got fond childhood memories of it, but that's really about all. What else did we have? No, hang on, we're going the wrong way.
I did like that personally because obviously I am through and through a Ford man, even though I drive a Mini.
Yes.
I did like the Golf Racing Ford GT40.
It was very nice. I'm just flicking through some general pictures here now. I've got Citroen, the Citroen Mahari, the traction on the Vox, the Mahara, and Rover. It's a Rover. It's a rebadged Accord. It's amazing Chryslers. Yeah, go to the
on our Facebook group / Car-Boyz. I think the address is.
There you go. I'm onto that. I've got a picture of the Ford up now. GT 69 FMC, fantastic looking car, and I love the way that as the door opens, the roof pops out so you can get in while wearing a crash helmet. But the thing was saved by all the classic cars we saw: Dodge Vipers, even things like the is it the GTO, the Alfa Romeo GTO Pininfarina, the real 90s one.
Oh, the GTO,
GTV. Sorry, I got my acronyms wrong at the end. And that, I remember seeing those cars in the 90s and thinking, God, they looked good. My overall impression, actually, and I know we've said this before, and it may be my age, was cars in the 90s was the last time we actually saw sort of a nice styling. Everything's gone very much designed by focus group. And we're looking at. I've got a Chrysler up at the moment. No focus group was asked. That was just men smoking cigarettes, going, "This is the car. Let's go. 1 liter's the engine. 8.9, not big enough. This is for men, not girls."
We said that, didn't we? We said it. The car designed by car designers, car enthusiasts, not a computer and not focus groups.
Austin Healey 3000, that's not a focus group. It's an absolute rake of a car. You imagine Terry Thomas sitting in there going, "Hello, Dodge Challenger, Dodge Charger," the classic pony car.
I was messaging a friend after the show, and she was saying, the thing about cars was the sound and the smell.
Yeah.
Electric cars don't do that.
Nope.
I don't see how people in 20 years' time are going to be going, "Oh, look how great that Tesla was, or how that electric, Fiesta is." It's not the same. There's not
the passion. I think you're going to find that there is going to be a niche. I don't think you're going to get rid of petrol cars. There's always going to be people that want to drive petrol cars, albeit maybe only a Saturday afternoon drive out, as we did in Berlin. We need to go back when we hired
we certainly did.
Trabants, and we drove them around central Berlin. Blue smoke coming out the two-stroke engine. but a fantastic, real immersive experience of proper driving, and it reminded me of like my first Fiat Panda, my Citroen AX that I used to drive around in, properly, white knuckle riding cars that are not capable of doing stuff, and you're trying to make it do stuff. You're trying to get to your mate's house.
I remember driving the Trabant and thinking everything I had to know to learn to drive, I had to remember.
That's it.
And Rich kind of did invite me to drive his car, which is an automatic, and I said to her, I've never driven an automatic before, and I think it'd be that same experience where you kind of go and you need to think, and cars you just get in now and you just drive, or they're saying you get in the cars and cars will drive themselves. You've got to think about these cars and how to drive them. So with the Trabants, you have to think about when you're going to change it eventually, when you're going to change gear and things like that.
And I'll be honest, it has changed a lot, because everybody in the UK up to about 20 years ago, you learned to drive. Nobody I knew took their test in an auto. Everybody I knew learned to drive with stick shift, because then you've got the principle of matching revs with gears. You have to do that with a stick shift.
Yeah.
Now, the two people that passed most recently in my family, both my sister-in-laws, one in Australia and one in England, can only drive autos.
Wow.
They didn't want to learn. They were like, it's too complicated and I can't be bothered. And I think that's the way it'll go. I think stick shift will disappear. I think we'll end up like America. I think it'll be a minority thing. And certainly with electric cars, where it's all or nothing, you don't have to think about.
Like a milk float.
Yeah. Or a dodgy or a dodgy. That's it. I think that's the way it's going to go. It's a sad fact, but I don't see any way at all around it. So
yeah,
it's just going to be one of those things. But yeah, as I mentioned, the classic cars that we did see really were, in my mind, just made the thing happen. Even the electrified ones. But yeah, seeing all the classic cars over the years, from right now, the Chevy Camaro, the Ford Mustang, and the Dodge Challenger, the Charger, the Austin Healey. I mean, beautiful traction Avants, which always remind me of Nazi war films with the German officers and the traction Avant, and then the Mahari, which is that mad 2CV that every French beach resort had driving around. And years ago, well, not that many years ago, about 8 years ago, I was in La Rochelle in France, and there was a couple of those bombing around by the beach in absolutely rusted out condition, but still going strong. So the classic cars for me saved it. So we got to see some really cool old stuff. I think Packard had a display there, and I think the guys that organised the show did well by sort of saying, okay, we're going to just promote cars in general. Got a beautiful the original Corvette Stingray there, and then a Mark I AA rescue van in bright yellow. I think that's a Mark III.
See, the thing was though, we were kind of blessed with a lot of good sunshine. Yeah, and I think that had it rained and people were going inside, there wouldn't have been as much for them inside as there was outside.
No, you're correct. There wasn't a lot going on inside. In fact, it was the outside area with the dodgy burgers that we had and the lack of anything to buy. Every time I went up to the store, I said, "Can I get a can of Coke?" We've run out of Coke. Okay, well, anything to drink? No.
Was that when you had your burger with 2 tops and 2 bottoms on them?
Well, I've never seen that in my life. So we ordered 2 burgers.
There was a moment where he was just computing. He's going,
and I went, and he made the burgers up, one for Simon, one for me. Yes. But one of the burgers had 2 tops of the BAP, and the other had the 2 bottoms. And I went, "Can you just do it the right way around?" He went, "I've done it now." I was like, "What do you mean you've done it now?" This is the most simple thing. I think my 6-year-old son could go top of bun, bottom of bun, burger, bit of cheese. There you go. Have you got any onions? We've run out of onions. We'll get chopping and make some bloody onions. Honestly. So
they'd run out of even things like Coca-Cola, and then what was left was lime cola.
Yes. So we ended up having the wonderful lime cola, but not as
Which
good
wasn't bad.
The sponsor of the show this today, which is Rab Water, from the people who brought you the falling down of the British government. A taste of Crete, Rab Water. It'll go home when it wants to.
Oh
despite there being
dear.
a crisis. So yeah, a good time was had by all. I shall hopefully be going again next year. We'll try and do another report on it. Hopefully next week, Car-Boyz will be back with episode, I want to say 88. I think we might be up to
88. Yes, that was a
88
very good
already.
year. 88.
It was. Was it? Was that the year you were born?
No, I'd have been
Yeah, not
nine.
quite.
Nine.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I was but mere a toddler in 88. 1888. Yes, when I was working for Mr. Holmes down Baker Street. But yeah, I mean, it was. I think it was good that the motor industry is really trying to promote itself. It's
Yeah.
really trying to get back on its feet. It doesn't know where it's going. There's a lot of decisions been made in the last 18 months about electric and about getting rid of certain cars and about taxing certain cars that are going to bite this government on the arse. You cannot electrify with the current technology we have at the moment. There isn't the capacity of electric. There isn't the ability to store electric. We are not producing enough, and we're still producing 50% of the power in the UK via non-green methods, via burning gas and nuclear. Well, they're not green. They're not renewables. If you want to go down the electric route, you've got to do what France have done. You've got to have nuclear power stations everywhere, and that is not a popular option for the government du jour. So what the answer is, I don't know. But I'm glad the motor industry is standing up and saying, well, hang on a second. We're going to do what we're going to do. We're going to try and promote what we can at the moment, and people need to get around and people need to drive. And as you very well know, Simon, public transport in this country is completely terrible. It's too expensive. It takes far too long to get anywhere, and it's just not it's not a goer. I went home to the Cotswolds over last week to see my folks, and it was lovely. I got to I got to drive around proper English roads with no potholes. Beautifully, and had the kids in the back. So I said, I know this road, kids, when there's no traffic around. Zoom around country lanes, kids in the back going, yeah, Dad, faster, faster. Yeah, of course, I'm not promoting irresponsible driving, and I was doing below the speed limit, but it was good fun.
68, 69, possibly.
What, my age? No, 73. And so I went for a run in the hills, and I went along a main road to get up to the hills, and I passed the bus stop, and there was 2 buses listed on the bus stop, and there were no times on the bus stop. So when is the bus going to come in London? It's every 10 minutes. So the moment you get out of the capital, and let's admit it, you're a Londoner. I've lived here for on and off for 30 years. It doesn't really work here. When you get outside of here, it certainly doesn't work. Public transport does not work outside. There are less buses than when I was a lad. There's just no buses. My old village I was brought up in, we had a bus twice a day taking you through to the main town and taking you to the main town in the other direction. And 20 years ago, I went home to get some work done on my car by a mate of mine. And my father wasn't going to be in, so I thought, I could either put the bicycle in the back of the car and then cycle back. My mate did the work. Or actually, what I'll do, I'll take the car over, I'll catch the bus back. So I phoned up the bus company and I said, how regular are the buses? And they said, they're 4 times a day. So he said, where do you live? And I went, Wilmcote. And he went, okay. Red Hill then? And I went, no, Wilmcote, the village. And he went, no, your stop's at Red Hill. Red Hill is a hill about 4 miles walk from my village. So that would have been completely pointless. So apart from sticking your thumb out like this and hitching, in the end, I just put the bike in the back of the car, took off the front wheel, dropped the car off, put the front wheel back on and cycled home, then cycled back to see my mate when my mate had done the work. That was 20 years ago, Simon. And we're worse than we were 20 years ago. There's no buses going through that village now. It's completely crap. There's no funding for that. And so it's a little bit fur coat, no knickers, or we'll all get electric cars, but they're all far too expensive. So I'm not sure the government have got a handle on the way it works, and it feels having, you're a proper Londoner, I'm a sort of adopted Londoner, that it's very London centric. We outside the metropolis, we don't care. And of course this will work, and outside the metropolis, mate, it doesn't work, and everybody's got a car because there's no other way to get around. And to go and see my cousin who lives in one village and my brother-in-law who lives in another village, and to drop my kids off, pick my kids up from that village, which is 8 miles away, I've got to jump in a car. There is no other option.
Yeah. Government completely got it wrong. Totally got it wrong.
So it'll be interesting to see. We'll do another one next year. We'll go to the 2022 British Motor Show, depending on where it's going to be, and we'll see what happens in the next year, because I am almost convinced that whatever government is in power in 2029 will rue the day they turn off the petrol and the diesel. If they say, well, no more petrol and diesel manufacture, I know it's what are we? 9 years away, but 9 years is a blink of the eye when you are talking about logistics this big. It's not redeveloping a new effing iPhone. It's restructuring the entire transport network and infrastructure in the UK, and it ain't gonna work. We're gonna have issues, and I shall probably be buying 2 cars in 2029, one newish one and one exactly the same model, so I can cannibalize it to take me up to sort of 2040, when I'll hopefully still be around. But to take me into my dotage, I think I'm going to need 2 petrol cars, and I don't care how much you're going to charge me for it. I'm still going to drive those, because I'm not being stopped from driving my car when I want to drive my car, when I need to get from point A to point B on my terms. And as much as I care about the environment, and I do, I've got children, I think pollution in cities needs to be brought down. And you give me a electric car that I can charge in the same time as a petrol one, and you give me an electric car that that costs me 30 grand, not 60 grand. You give me an electric car that will not need replacing within 5 years, then I'm all ears. But at the moment, you're not giving me that. You're not giving me an electric car I can buy for £3,000.
Which is why I don't understand why they're banning the sale of hybrids as well. So the only thing you would be able to buy is an electric. Hybrids, no. Petrol, no. So it's like...
the 2 things there, and I totally agree with you, is the hybrid makes sense, because if you run out of the electric, you've got a small petrol engine.
Charging thing that will charge
and you've got a smaller engine, so it's less pollution. The other thing is Toyota, hang on, let me get it right, Toyota doing with the Mira, which is hydrogen. Now, hydrogen engine is pretty much the same as a petrol engine. And hydrogen costs quite a bit to produce, but it doesn't have any, as far as I'm aware, it's a renewable, because there's lots of hydrogen in the air, there's lots of hydrogen in the ocean, ergo H2O. So,
and as you say, that's the byproduct.
Hydrogen
is
the way to go. The only thing I could drive my car with hydrogen with very simple installation of a hydrogen tank into the boot. You could have it like a racing tank, which is filled full of sponge. So if it does crash, the thing doesn't explode. You can have petrol, and then you can switch. I've got hydrogen. No, we're running out, but I've got my petrol tank still, so I can switch it. So all the current cars on the road can remain on the road with maybe only, you're creating a new industry of installing small hydrogen tanks. Now that to me sounds quite good, whereas electric doesn't. But who am I to say? I don't know what powers that be have got the powers that be, and we're not privy to what they're thinking.
The thing was, we did come away thinking we're not convinced. We really are not convinced that electric is the way forward.
No. And I still don't think it is. I still don't think the technology's there. I think we're making great inroads, but I don't think we're going to be there in 10 years. I'm sorry. If you go back to 2000 and let's go back to 2011. How much have electric cars moved on? Quite a bit. But have they moved on that much from there to there? Have they moved on that much in 20 years? I watched something the other day about a guy that put an electric engine into a 1980s Maserati, and he'd done this in the early noughties. And the electric engine in that looked like the same type of electric engine that we saw in the cars the other day. It looked exactly the same principle. Battery technology's got better. The engine looked exactly the same. We will wait and see. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and like to the Car-Boyz. I don't think we've got anything else to say, have we?
No, it was really good fun. It was good to get. It's actually the first time in about a year and 3/4
we haven't
actually seen each other in the flesh.
The last time we saw each other was December 2019. Was the Car-Boyz Christmas party that we put online, where I was wearing a black bomber jacket and someone was wearing a long black coat, and I think they thought at the pub, I was smoking a cigar outside, they thought we were doormen.
We'd open the door. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
They'd look at us as they came up. Oh, hi. All right, mate. Yeah, and you go, mate, you're all right. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Email the Car-Boyz at car-boys@outlook.com. Facebook us at car-boys at Car-Boyz with the 4 Zs. Twitter us car-boys with a Z at car_boys with a Z. Instagram at car_boys with the tree. Zed's tree. It's not gang sign or anything else. It's just the number tree. There you go. That's the Instagram where we take our clothes off. No, that's our only. Yes, that's quite,
TikTok, isn't it?
Yes, it's TikTok.
OnlyFans. It's our OnlyFans.
OnlyFans site. Oh, you'd never pay money for that, would you? We'd be broke. We'd be having to pay ourselves. Apparently, the porn is back on OnlyFans, so don't worry, Simon.
Yeah, I heard.
That you'd like to visit. Will all be safe. You can see faded starlets from 1990s pop bands with their vuvus out, which is nice for some people. Mentioning no names, Eric Katona. So yeah, that's about it from the show. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll be back next week with a proper episode. Oh, hang on, what's happening now? Do you know it was nearly perfect apart from that?
Oh,
come on. And now why? And now it doesn't want to play. It doesn't want. I don't know what's happening with this. I'm not going to play out on the guitar. So close, but no. I think the speaker's knackered. Hang on. There we go. We are going to anyway. Phil like a good one. Why is this not working? I don't know.
Back to normal next week. Next week's show.
Yeah, we are back to normal next week with the show. We'll have it all sorted. There you go. We'll be back. Hopefully you'll be back. So tune in to Car-Boyz next week. Oh, it's done it again. I just want to give up really at this stage. We need to spend some money on this show.
Sponsor us.
More than Rob Water, which is not paying us anything. We need some sponsorship on the show. Thank you very much for tuning in to Car-Boyz. We're back next week with a proper show. That was the 2021 British Motor Show Farnborough Special.